Welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer. This is our second Are You For Real that we recorded 3 days ago. Guys, if you haven't already, check out the Are You For Real that we did yesterday. We looked at Lampard, Gerrard, Parker and Graham Potter and ranked them in order from 1 to 4 on who we think would have the most potential going forward. Really good video. Today is the big one. I think there's going to be some serious debate. Guys, we never manipulate any of this. That's why sometimes in the past we've agreed on everyone and it's been quite boring. Sometimes we get gems where, well, let's wait and see. Guy, Scott, I'll let you... I called you Guy then. I mean, that's quite a good name. I'll call you Guy. Guy, give us the names of who we're looking at today.
Yeah, so we're looking at Sean Dyche, Hodgson, Moyes, and Brendan Rodgers.
I'm really annoyed because you pronounced all those names correctly. I was waiting for one slip up, but we didn't.
I've done all right for me, haven't I? Thankfully, you've not got any. It's because they're all British. As soon as you throw in like a French-sounding player or something, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, who's that player that Leicester have signed, by the way?
I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. If you don't know what we're on about there, guys, go and watch our latest. It will be our latest transfer talk where I try to pronounce, the French player from Lille that Leicester have signed. But yeah, anyway, let's actually move on to what we're going to do today. So yesterday, if you watched the one yesterday, we based it on the potential, not just the career, the potential. Obviously, with Roy literally retiring at the end of the season. We thought with this one, especially with this one, we're just going to do it based on the career because let's face it, as you've alluded to before, James, I think Roy's been managing for what, probably 50 years.
Is that all?
It feels like 100.
Yeah.
No, he's been managing like 30 years, hasn't he, to be fair?
30 years? He was managing, I'm pretty sure he was managing in the 70s. I don't know. Let's dive into it. Scott, I said to you before we started this, there's one name that I've got in a position that you're gonna hate, I think. Who have you got fourth?
See, I think this one's going to bother you. I've gone for Roy in fourth. Roy Hodgson, fourth.
So have I.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That is the one I thought...
How hard was it to do this? Because I've been arguing with myself. I don't know about you, but
nah.
You know what? It sounded like a great idea to do, and then I actually sat down and thought, whatever order I do, I'm just going to piss everyone off because it's so hard. But yeah, I'll let you start as to your reason why.
Listen. Roy's a legend, and we are basing this on what they've achieved and not really, as you alluded to earlier, what they could achieve, because that only applies to 3 managers. Probably 2 if you take out Moyes. But Roy Hodgson is like that really cute great-granddad, or granddad, where they can't really do any wrong. It's like if I see an old man on the news and he's committed a bank robbery, I'm not going to feel sorry for him. I'm going to go, oh, bless him.
Yeah, fair play.
He's a bank fair. Do you know what I mean? And that's with Roy. This man has had an atrocious managerial career. Let's be honest.
The thing is, when you actually go back through it,
when you break it down, he's managed 21 clubs or national teams. 21 managerial positions.
The highlight of that for me was 6 games at Inter Milan. The highlight.
The stint at Inter Milan is one of the reasons I've got him last. He's the reason Roberto Carlos left, because Roberto Carlos said, listen, Roy, I'm one of the best left backs in the world. Play me left back. And Roy's gone, I think I'm going to play you on the left wing. I don't know why he sounds German, but He wouldn't play him in his position, and that's why they left one of the greatest left backs of all time. Like,
I think Palace fans are probably thinking this sounds familiar because I think a lot of Palace fans have been saying that he needs to play Eze in his number 10 role, but there's been shoving him out on the wing for most of the season. And then Liverpool was his other big one, and I think he only lasted, was it 6 months there, I believe. So, he's two big clubs. He pretty much failed at. I mean, let's try and give him some credit. He's done pretty well with Palace, hasn't he?
It's one of those things where if I managed 21 clubs, I like to think I'd win a few titles. I think I'd win a title in Denmark, which he's got a couple. I think he's got a Swiss title. But I've only wrote down some of his managerial positions. Grasshoppers a year, Viking 1 year, Bristol City 4 months, Copenhagen a season, which he won a title and a cup, fair enough. Udinese, less than 6 months. Finland, Liverpool. I mean, this guy was managing the UAE 20 years ago. Finland. He had 12 friendly games for Finland, lost 7, drew 5. 5 of those, I think the 5 draws were 0-0, and then we move on to England.
Yeah. I think everyone knows he didn't do great there.
Do we talk about this? Do we move on from 4th place, or do we carry on? I mean, he was at Blackburn in 1998, I think, 2 years after they won the title, and finished 8th or 7th. Now, the season before that, they were fighting relegation, so you could say he did okay. Fair enough. But, he lost the UEFA Cup final in 1997 to Schalke, and that was a good team. Paul Ince, Javier Zanetti. There was a few good players in that team. Fulham did well with Fulham. Europa League final, lost to a very, very good team in Sevilla, was it? I'm pretty sure that was... we
all remember that Europa League stage with Fulham. He did do that. To be fair, he did well with Fulham, didn't he? Let's give him credit there.
I think they beat Juventus, didn't they? That famous game, I think Clint Dempsey scored, and they won.
I'm going to say that. I was literally about to say, I just remember Dempsey from that period.
Yeah, definitely. But let's be honest, he's done well with Palace, but Roy Hodgson's managerial career, I mean, he's managed in multiple continents on both an international and a club level. He's only won like 6 honours.
I'm laughing to myself because I'm sure loads of people like YouTubers and stuff will be doing videos dedicated to Roy on the fact he's announced it. Slated him.
Mate, like, you broke up a little bit then, but I did get the gist. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not slating him. I love Roy Hodgson. He never causes a fuss. He never insults anyone. He's never in the news for anything bad, but it's Roy Hodgson. Harry Kane on corners? I'm sorry. Forget about it. Let's move on.
I think the one last thing I was going to say as well is obviously we've criticised Sir Alex before for the state he kind of... Not the state, but let's face it, he left United knowing he was leaving United in not the best condition. The exact same can be said for Roy. I mean, obviously, we alluded on the last video to that massive list of out-of-contract players. Although not all his fault, obviously that's the owners too and the lack of investment. Yeah. Let's face it, whoever picks up Palace, they're going to not have a great time, are they? I mean, Zaha's not going to stay looking at all them players going.
Zaha, Van Arnold, Eze, there's a lot of players.
They'll need Zaha to sell Zaha to have any chance of rebuilding the team, won't they? But that's another thing. Let's move on to... Who have you got third?
Third, I've gone David Moyes.
Ooh, really? Okay, I've gone Sean Dyche.
Have you? See, this is... I think we both know who's going to be first, unless you've got it absolutely wrong, as usual. But I've gone David Moyes third, only because he did a good job at Preston. He took over in '98 when they were fighting relegation, kept them up, and then got them to the playoffs the year later. The season after that, I'm pretty sure they won Division 2, which would be like League One now. The season after that, so in his third full season, he got to the playoffs in the championship. What would be the championship now? So he did really well with them. The spell at Everton, yes, it was a good spell. They got one Champions League campaign, finishing 4th, at a time where all they had to do was knock out one of the big four. From the year 2000 until 2010, there was only 4 teams in the Premier League, let's be honest.
I think Everton was probably one of his best tenures. I'll tell you why. He took over Everton when they're on the brink of a shock relegation. He then stabilised them and made them go from a bottom half table up into how we pretty much recognise Everton now. Ever since Moyes, you recognise Everton as a club that should be fighting for Europa but aren't quite in the Champions League. You are right. Obviously, he missed out on the Champions League, but I think he did a great job. I think he really transformed Everton. I think he made them from that, bottom half into the, the top 7. And do you know what he's doing? He's replicating that at West Ham as well. I mean, I'll give my side of Moyes as well. I think he's really replicating that at West Ham. He's took over West Ham. I think he already was at West Ham. He kept them up then. And then, in my opinion, he was unfairly shoved out the way for a manager that was well past his best in Pellegrini. But then got rid of Pellegrini, brought him back in. He's kept him up, not playing great football. And I think, we've spoke to a West Ham guy on one of our streams. A lot of them wanted him out before the start of this season. But then he's transformed it. He's transformed the football, and he's doing exactly what he did with Everton. He's now replicating that with West Ham. I think he's going to consistently take them from a lower half club to, let's face it, where West Ham probably should be in that top half.
He's had a good season. The wheels are falling off now. I don't want to take anything away from David Moyes. This isn't a case of me saying I don't like him as a manager or I don't think he's a good manager. I do, but I just think the person who I've got second under the circumstances has done a lot more. At Everton, he was there for 11 years. He did win the LMA Manager of the Year. Fair enough. He got 4th, but they gave them Champions League that season because Liverpool won it famously. So for the first time ever, they had 5 from one country. The next season, in their Champions League campaign, he lost to Villarreal in the qualifying of the Champions League, so went into what is called the Europa League now. It was the UEFA Cup. They lost to Dynamo Bucharest 5-1. Not good enough. Everton, I know you mentioned about Everton have always been, he's taken them to where they are seen to be now. Have Everton been relegated? I don't think they've been relegated for like 90 years or 100 years.
No, they haven't. No, but it was just when he took over them that they were, that particular season, they were almost in a relegation fight, and he kept them up and did transform them. I think people's main criticism of Moyes is going to be that United tenure, but for me,
I don't criticise him much for that.
Nor do I.
No,
I think Sir Alex knew what he was doing when he left, and I think that's going to annoy a lot of people. But I think he knew that if he stopped another couple of seasons, that United were in trouble. And I think he took over them knowing that, he passed it on to Moyes, knowing that he was kind of leaving them in not a great position. And I don't think he did. I mean, look, he did only win one Charity Shield with United, which isn't considered great. But when you look back on Moyes now,
you can't give David Moyes the Charity Shield. That's bogus charity. He only got into that final because of what Sir Alex did the year before by winning the league. He won another man's trophy.
You are right with that.
He also got Sunderland relegated.
He did.
Do you remember that comment he made where after a game, I think he was manager of Sunderland, and he got his mic left on, and a female reporter was like giving him some hard questions, And after the interview ended, he said something along the lines of that was getting a bit heated there, and don't think I won't give you a smack even if you are a woman.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
I think Roy's had a couple of funny ones as well, hasn't he? Press conference wise, which everyone liked. It just appears every so often on the timeline.
Yeah, there's one. I do know the one that you're on about. I'm not going to talk about it because there was a lot of effing and blinding in there. But for me, let's talk about second, because I'm assuming you've got Moyes second and Dyche third. I've got Dyche third.
I've got Dyche. I've got Dyche third. So Moyes second.
I don't think David Moyes has the continued success with Burnley that Moyes has done with the finances.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I'm not going to massively argue your decision. I think Dyche has worked a complete miracle. Let's face it, he's worked a complete miracle with Burnley. He had a spell at Watford. He come up through the Watford youth ranks actually, and then
he was only there for 1 year though, wasn't he?
That was it. Everyone's going to remember him for his time at Burnley, and they spend very little, especially for a Premier League club. I mean, there's Championship clubs that regularly outspend them, and I'm not going to criticise Dyche at all. I think the only reason I maybe put Moyes above him is because I feel Moyes has maybe done it well at a couple of clubs now. It's hard, isn't it? Because Dyche, you just don't know with Dyche whether it's a match made in heaven with Burnley, and if he ever does have to go elsewhere, whether he'll potentially, things won't work as well. But I feel both for the. Well, you know what? Moyes is probably at his level at West Ham now. I feel Dyche definitely deserves a chance at a crack of the whip at a bigger club for me, or at least one that's going to invest well in him.
I completely agree. And one of the reasons why I've got Dyche ahead of Moyes is because Moyes he's had 7 different managerial jobs, I think, if you include 2 stints at West Ham. Mm-hmm. And he's only succeeded at 2 of them, Preston and Everton. Can't really class this season because they still could fall out of the Europa League, and they were fighting for the Champions League. So, I mean, he had a season at Real Sociedad where he beat Barcelona 1-0, that famous 2015 Barca team. But he hasn't done anything noteworthy except get relegated in the last 8 years. It's a long time.
I kind of agree, but I feel like maybe he's building a bit of a new legacy for himself at West Ham. I mean, going back to Dyche, though, I think the one criticism people might have is obviously he did take them down. He took them down in 2016, but the counter argument to that is he took them straight back up. And for me to take the fact that Burnley went down once in this time period is nothing short of a miracle.
He's got 2 promotions, hasn't he? He's got 1 runners-up, second, and 1 title. I don't have a bad word to say about Sean Dyche. If you met him in a pub, he'd probably have a pint with you.
Yeah, you're right there.
I love Sean Dyche. I really, really do. If you're a Burnley fan, do give us a sub. I just love Sean Dyche. I just think, again, if his name was something like Shawnee, like Dyche or something like that, he'd probably be at Man City by now, but he's not. So,
of course, and I wanted to speak about that. How mad is it that, you see Mourinho's, your Ancelotti's, your Sarri's, you can go on and on. They're given 3, 4, 5 chances at these big clubs in which they always get sacked. Why is it with an English manager they get 1 chance? Roy had 1 chance at Liverpool. Rodgers had 1 chance at Liverpool.
Who was that guy?
Moyes had 1 chance at United. Dyche is let to have a chance. It's a bit of a joke, isn't it, really? But, it's not like they all... I mean, okay, Roy didn't do well, but the rest of them didn't. Moyes and obviously Rodgers, they didn't do terrible. They didn't do that bad that they don't deserve another shot at, a club like that size.
The defence I will give Moyes at United is that he got United to a Champions League quarter final, and that was their first quarter-final in the Champions League until Ollie did it 2 years ago. So for like 6 years, no one else had done it. And in that time, they'd had Van Gaal and Mourinho. So I do agree with you. And who was that Watford manager? Was it Marco Silva, who had a good 6 months at Watford or a good year, and then went to Everton and absolutely flopped? But they still gave him money to spend like 120 million. It's just, I think if Sean Dyche was at an Everton, a Leeds,
careful with Leeds.
A West Ham,
a Wolves.
If Nuno decided to leave, yes. But if Sean Dyche was at a club between 6th and 11th, I think they're fighting for Europa League on a consistent basis. I think if Sean Dyche was at Liverpool with those players, I think they'd be challenging for titles. This misconception that because he's Sean Dyche and he hasn't got any hair on his head, he doesn't know how to manage a football team. Like, Chris Wood has scored like 40 goals in 100 games for him. Chris Wood. And you telling me that he can't get Salah and Mane banging? Come on.
It is mad. It is mad. To be fair, this one, it was a close third and second for me. And I got a couple of that. Yeah. These were the ones that I was arguing even with myself over, to be honest. And Roy was a clear bottom. And you know what? Let's move on to first. Let's talk about Brendan Rodgers. But let me ask you a question on Brendan Rodgers before we give him all the love that we probably are going to give him. Do you think he wasted some of his career at in the Scottish Premier League?
No, because he was only there for how long? 3 years? Was it 3.5 seasons he was there for?
I suppose it helped him reinvent himself, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Roy Hodgson spent longer in Sweden, in the 1970s. So
but that's because he's not that good. I don't know how he's been managing in the Premier League this long, really. No, he has done well at Palace. Let's. To be fair, I was going to say let's not get the Palace fans on us, but I'm not sure.
Let's finish it on Roy. Roy, happy retirement, no hard feelings, but you're bottom of this list. That's it.
Yeah, you're just not a brilliant manager, mate.
Let's leave it there. I've made so many notes on every single person. This is what I've done for Brendan Rodgers. Refuse to make notes on Rodgers as if it even needs debating. That's the end of it. This isn't a debate. Brendan Rodgers is one of the best managers in Europe. That's the end.
Shall I just throw a few things then? Obviously, he was manager of the year in the Premier League. That was the 13-14 season. People always say, don't they, he had that Sterling, Suarez, Sturridge combination. The question I'll say to that, yes, Suarez went on to Barcelona, did absolutely amazing. What has Daniel Sturridge done since that season? And we're not talking about the Raheem Sterling of now. We're talking about a very young Raheem Sterling. Who,
19, probably, 6, 7,
and let's face it, they lost him in quite controversial, a controversial way, which is why Liverpool fans don't like him now. Obviously, he refused to sign the contract. And I kind of feel that in itself was kind of the downfall for Brendan with Liverpool. I really don't think that helped him.
Look at the rest of the team, like Daniel Agger, Martin Skirtle, Lucas, Luis Enrique. Come on.
Yeah.
The other day off, Simon Mignolet was in goal, I think. Who was his backup striker? Was it Mario? No, it wasn't Balotelli. Who was their Fabio Borini? Come on. Like, they had no right to challenge for that title, never mind lose it by a point or two.
I think you've just got to look at how he's transformed Leicester with this, hasn't it? An interesting one. He's got a higher points average with Leicester than he did with Liverpool at the moment.
Is that right?
Yeah, 1.82 as of today before the kick-off at Chelsea. But it was only 1.77 with Liverpool, so obviously very close. But yeah, at the moment, it's in front. And Yeah, he's transformed Leicester. I mean, people would criticise he didn't do very well in the Europa League, but I feel like they potentially need a bigger squad, Leicester, to compete on both stages. So I don't feel that's perhaps his fault.
Maybe not. Maybe if they just didn't have 9 injuries for the whole every week for the season, if they had their normal squad, they could easily play. Harvey Barnes can come in and players like that, Pratt, and
But that's a mad one. He's on the verge of getting top 4 with them, and bear in mind the fact that they've had such an injury-prone season. Other clubs will say that they've had injuries too, but the fact that Brendan Rodgers is giving Leicester potentially, let's hope, Champions League football.
Yeah.
With the injuries they've had, is crazy. And he's gave him an FA Cup. Yeah.
This isn't even... We should be putting Brendan Rodgers in the bracket of Nagelsmann, Pep, Diego Simeone, not, with all due respect, Sean Dyche, fucking pigeon man, Roy Hodgson, owl man, Roy Hodgson, and someone that looks like a bouncer in Sean Dyche, who I love, by the way. But
subscribe.
Still subscribe, Bernie. Brendan Rodgers, the disrespect that I think I love Brendan Rodgers more than Leicester fans. Like, I love this man. I just imagine if he was at United and they gave him 150 million, what he could do with that team. Oh God, there aren't enough superlatives available.
I agree. I think it's crazy that, I mean, it's great for Leicester fans, but it's just, to be fair, he's going to transform Leicester into already, you'd argue Leicester are now within the new big 6, and eventually they'll probably be within the new big 4.
Arsenal now haven't had Champions League football in 5 years. For the last 2 or 3 years, it's kind of been that thing, well, Arsenal are still a big 6 club, but they're just having a bit of a rough patch. Half a decade? How long do you keep going on this pretense that Arsenal are still big 6?
Exactly that. And I mean,
I don't class Spurs. Spurs should never have been it. If you're a Spurs fan, don't subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, unsubscribe. Forget Spurs. I'm joking. But no, I'm
going to say we need you.
I was joking about the subscribers, but not in terms of your club. Your club's a joke. I'm so annoyed about them with the ESL still, but that's a different topic. But they were Brendan has made them a top 6 team now from their continued success.
I agree with that. I think, it's clear. Brendan's clear, isn't it, in conclusion? And I think we might as well just end it on that note, to be honest.
So we've actually got a slightly different order, just like our previous video. I've gone for Roy Hodgson and have a good retirement in 4th. David Moyes 3rd, Sean Dyche 2nd, and Mr. Rodgers 1st. You've obviously got it wrong, just like the previous video where you've gone Sean Dyche 3rd and David Moyes 2nd because he spent a load of money at Everton, broke his record, broke their transfer record numerous times on players like James Beattie, was getting Phil Neville. All these players, Pienaar, Yakubu, Cahill, Fellaini. Look at all these players he had, and he broke the top 4 mould once. Clown. You're a clown.
I mean, he's getting he's going to get West Ham into Europe this year as well.
It's looking like it could be that new conference. What's it called? Europa.
Yeah, to be fair, that probably doesn't even count, does it? I've seen a list of the clubs in that. It's pretty shameful, but
God.
I mean, look, he transformed them from a relegation team, near relegation, to Europe. He's done well with them this season. There's no West Ham fan that's going Moyes out. So, but yeah, guys, if you made it this far, as I always say, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.